In July 2009, we travelled to Seoul in South Korea, where we took part in a one-month exchange at Dongguk University. While there, we were welcomed into the home of a Korean family. As part of our programme, we attended a series of lectures on Buddhism and used our free time to explore the city of Seoul, travel to Busan and the heritage site of Gyeongju. This film gives a glimpse of what we experienced and learnt during our stay. The history of conflict in Korea has resulted in strong patriotic values, which are noticeable when one experiences the beautiful country. The pain and conflict that the country went through for many years was clear during our visit to places such as the War Memorial and Sodamon Prison History Hall. South Korea is a place of high values and morals, where they will never forget the struggles and pain that they and their ancestors have received. In 1904, Japan entered Korea, but unfortunately took a particularly violent approach when colonising Korea. One reminder of this is the Comfort Women's protest in Seoul, where a group of women who were forced into prostitution during the time gather outside the Japanese embassy demanding an apology. We were able to join their Wednesday protest and found their courage and commitment to what they believed in very powerful. In an attempt to force the Japanese to surrender, Korea was divided by the Americans and the Russians. The Korean War ended on the 27th of July 1953, yet it did not result in any of the sides having victory, but ended up in stalemate. Not only was the country divided politically, but it was also physically divided, and this has unfortunately lasted ever since. It is clear that there is a passion among South Koreans for the two countries to once again be reunited in the future. During the Korean War, many other countries were involved. The time spent at the War Memorial during our stay in South Korea shows the impact of loss to not only Korean people, but other countries. The UN forces, including the USA and the UK, lost over 37,000 people in the war. Today, other countries are still active in Korea. We met an American missionary who told us about his work to help North Korean refugees. So could you just explain a little bit about what you're doing?
Sure, yeah, basically what we're doing, if you can't see, is we have a woman on the ground who is reenacting what it is like to be a North Korean refugee caught in China. The man right here is dressed up as a Chinese soldier, and over on the right is a man dressed up as a North Korean soldier. Now, you would never really see this scene where they both were together like this, but they do, the two governments do work together on this issue. And also, actually, then the Chinese government, what they do is they round up the North Korean refugees, they send them back to North Korea. So at some point, obviously, the soldiers are communicating because they're handing them over. It's a pretty major problem. We don't know exactly how many are sent over or sent back every year, but it seems to be in the thousands. Typically, I first learned about this, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and it's sort of gradually grown, and then now it's like at a point where I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, like I know a lot. To me, it's not really a Korean thing, it's a human thing. So a lot of Koreans say, well, you're not Korean, why are you interested in this, why do you care? Like, well, you should care not because they're Korean, you should care because they're human beings who need help.
When we visited Deokgung Palace, we were able to watch the changing of the guards. The guards are referred to as Gyeomgung, or the guards of the Forbidden Palace. The ceremony is a very special and interesting tradition, and is very different to the changing of the guards at Buckingham Palace. When visiting palaces such as Deokgung, it was striking to see the contrast between the modern city skyscrapers and the traditional palace buildings. It was remarkable how calm and tranquil the palace grounds were, considering the hectic pace of life just beyond the palace walls. The throne room has a high ceiling decorated in rich colours, portraying two dragons fighting for a jewel. The dragons are symbolic of the kings. While we were in Korea, we had the chance to visit the Korean folk village based in Yongin City. The aim of the folk village is to teach people about the history of Korea, mainly about the culture and the economy. We were able to see several traditional arts and crafts, such as tightrope walking, which was used for entertainment in the villages, a traditional Korean wedding, and a horse show that illustrates the skill required to hunt on horseback. We were also able to watch a woman demonstrating how silk is woven. Silk came to Korea from China in the Three Kingdom period. The cocoons are boiled and strands are taken onto a loom to be spun. Silk was a traditional material for the upper classes. Today, the cocoons are primarily used in health foods and cosmetics.
They're live.
Another demonstration that we saw was a man creating smoking pipes. Pipe smoking is popular in Korea and provided a profitable trade, especially in China. The pipes are created out of brass and copper alloy. One of the most interesting shows at the folk village was the farmer's dance. It is referred to as Nongak in Korean. The band is used to represent the farmers in heavy workload season who brought instruments to lighten the mood among the workers. Many of the dancers had a sangmo tiligi, or long white streamer attached to their hats, which twirled as they danced in the village. The dances and the music were believed to help the crops in the villages.
think what we found the hardest in Korea was the food, just because we're both vegetarians.
People didn't really understand the concept of being a vegetarian, and we found this difficult because in Western culture it's quite a common thing. And if there wasn't meat in a dish, there tended to be fish in a dish. One of the vegetarian dishes that we found in Korea was bibimbap. It's a mixture of vegetables, rice and chili paste.
보고 따라 해라고 막 this
Okay.
2 spoon
Okay.
and 조금만 조금만
Yeah.
오케이
Is that
그다음에 비비는 거는 젓가락으로 비벼야 돼 젓가락으로 숟가락으로 비비면 안 돼요 맛이 없어요
don't use spoon? Okay.
South Korea is a religiously diverse country with three major religions: Buddhism, Protestant Christianity, and Roman Catholicism. Christianity is growing in popularity in South Korea. We were able to visit Busan's largest evangelist church and find out from Pastor Stan Kim what made it so special.
I think this church has kept that in a very, very magnificent way through worship, through the preaching, which is very Protestant, right? Through preaching, and there's also very Korean, perhaps not so much a Korean, but probably something that was, kept in Christianity, but that was somewhat lost, perhaps in Western culture, which is expressive prayer. Expressive prayer. You pray out with all of your heart.
The oldest and most dominant religion in South Korea is Buddhism, considered to have been introduced in 372 AD. Throughout South Korea, there are numerous Buddhist temples, of which we managed to visit just a handful. It is easy to see why these locations provide a perfect place to carry out a meditative life. Each wooden building within the temple compound is vividly painted on the outside. The painting not only protects the wood, but provides a vivid beauty to the temple structures. The combination of the colours can be seen to represent the 5 elements of Eastern philosophy, which together symbolises the enlightenment of the next world. Many larger temples have 3 gates through which visitors pass to enter the compound. It is the second of these which is the most eye-catching to visitors, with its 4 large statues or guardians. With a guardian for every direction, each holds their own power with which to protect the temple, the Buddha, and his teachings. Another key structure is the bell pavilion. Here there are 4 instruments which are used to indicate the service times when all can come to worship the Buddha and his teachings. Each instrument calls specifically to one group of beings. For example, the fish calls to all those that live in water. During our stay in South Korea, we were able to take part in an overnight temple stay at Yongju-sa Temple on the outskirts of Seoul. Our day began at 3 o'clock in the morning when we were woken by a monk chanting sutras and continuously tapping the moktak, a hollow wooden instrument. We then attended a ceremonial worship service and took part in some yogic exercise and meditation before learning how to make prayer beads. We also made lotus flowers using coloured paper petals. The lotus is a well-known symbol of Buddhism, yet the lotus lantern is more unique to South Korea. We later placed our lotus flowers as an offering before the Bodhisattva, each person making a wish as they placed their flower at the altar. One of the first things taught to us during our temple stay was how to carry out a prostration, which is used during worship services. As a Westerner with a little religious exposure, it is difficult not to feel a little self-conscious and uncoordinated while learning the intricate process. One of the most calming activities that we experienced was when we had the opportunity to sit and have tea with the head sunim of a temple. Tea is a central part of Buddhist practice. Considered as an aid to concentration, tea is a vital contribution to meditation. The detailed process of making and drinking the tea allows the participants to take time to reflect upon their life and the Dharma. One is also led to engage all of their senses to enjoy every element of the tea, from the taste to the colour.
On behalf of the Bath students, I'd like to say thank you for all the help and the support that everybody's given us here in the international office. I think for us it was a bit of some culture shocks when we first came, because it's quite different to England, but all the Korean people that we've interacted with have been very helpful and very supportive, so it's made it a really enjoyable trip, and I think the other girls would definitely be happy to come back to Korea again, so it's been really good.
While we're in South Korea, we stayed with host families individually. This was a great experience, but quite difficult at first. But it was a great way to learn the traditions of the country.
It is a recent new temple. It was built in 1998, and it's located in a suburb of Seoul. It's called Ilsan, and actually that area, I think, white stone. But it was about 1 hour from the tube. It's a modern temple, but the paintings and things like that, a little bit, I think it has an older look in it.
Okay. 심혜정.
제니.
제니. 오케이. 오케이.
So this is also Chogyesaya?
Yeah, Takejo. But this is a Christian,
Yeah.
The Buddhism Christian, I think, just my opinion, the religion, one of the mountain, one top in the, the God,
And then it's
So,
just spread out.
Yeah. So turn right, like clockwise. Make a spin, make a power, Wind like this one. The turn right.
Yeah.
Right hand clockwise, make a good power. The same.
Thank you for watching our DVD.
We hope you enjoyed it.
감사합니다.